Another 31 days have passed, so that means it's time once again to recount what I've been up to the past month. It's been a jam-packed month for me, so we have a bit to cover today. Before we begin, be sure to subscribe if you haven't, and leave a like. It's greatly appreciated. With that out the way, let's begin. Let's start with the two shows I watched in May this time, with the fresh Prince of Bel Air reboot being first. I only started this show because my roommate was watching in the background, and to my surprise, it's good. Like more than you'd expect a more serious adaptation of the Fresh Prince of Bel Air to be. It's the same setup as the original, with Will getting in trouble in the streets of Philadelphia and having to move out to Bel Air. Though the stakes are raised quite a bit, since Will gets in trouble helping his friend from a local drug dealer who was then out to kill him and has to move because of that. That's kind of the show in a nutshell, the original, but turned up to a more serious degree. But is good and watchable. Every member of the cast makes their character as likable or unlikable as they're supposed to be, and I was invested. Hands down, the best part though is that they made Jeffrey, originally the Smith family butler, a bodyguard slash agent slash hitman in a reimagining, and is the greatest thing ever. Next up, let's talk about Moon Knight. This is actually the first MCU related thing I've seen post Avengers Endgame, and it was okay. Cool premise with the guy that has a split personality being a vessel for an Egyptian god, and shenanigans proceed from there. Where the show fell short for me is the main villain being uninteresting, the show not always using its Egyptian influences to the best of its ability, all the twists being super predictable, and the overall cast not being super likable. I don't regret giving the show a chance, but I have no real interest in season 2, and I definitely left season 1 feeling underwhelmed. Now moving over to games, which I played a handful of. Vanguard Bannis is one I always wanted to play and had the perfect excuse to finally dive into with research I was doing for an upcoming video. It's a turn-based strategy RPG for the PS1 with mecha combat, and I like what little I played of it. Though I must admit, it shows its age more than other games of its era and its mechanics. The gameplay itself, though, I found pretty engaging. The mecha models and animations hold up surprisingly well, and there seemed to be some depth to it all. The characters, which I admit I didn't see much of, didn't leave much of an impression, at least not a positive one. The character sprites in particular are sometimes really out there and distracting, like goofy and deformed looking, but that's a nitpick. All in all, I like the game, though I'm not sure I would recommend it to someone else, even a die-hard strategy RPG fan. Next game up is Pokemon XG, a fan-made mod of Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness that adds over 100 shadow Pokemon, the fairy typing, new items, infinite use TMs, and much more, including a massive uptick in difficulty. I love the GameCube Pokemon games, and revisiting XD Gale of Darkness with this fresh coat of paint on it was a joy. Well, for the most part, because it got to a point where I had to heal after every battle with how difficult the game was getting. If the difficulty doesn't turn you off, I highly suggest this mod to anyone that is also a fan of the original and wants to see it expanded upon. Now let's briefly talk about video game Fables. I made a dedicated video on this indie RPG on the channel already, which you should check out, so I'll keep my thoughts on it here brief. It's one of those games where you can tell a lot of love and care went into it from the moment you load it up, and uses what it has going on to its advantage, like using its minimalist art style to break the fourth wall. The game impressed me so much, I really think it may be a super hit for most underrated RPG of the year, and I don't say that lightly. You can play the demo of it now on Steam, and I guarantee it's worth your time. The final game I played in May, and the one I spent the most time with, is the Vanity Original Sin 2. Now, this isn't my first time playing this game, but my friends and I recently started up a 4-player playthrough together, and not only was it their first time playing, in the short time we've had with the game, we've already passed the farthest I've ever gotten. And it's been a great reminder that the Vanity 2 is without a doubt one of the best RPGs ever made. The amount of freedom in this game and the fact you can do it with 4 humans makes for such a great experience. You can kill or steal from any NPC you wish, you're left to find countless hidden things in the world, and the world that the Vanity sets up is just really interesting. And if the game wasn't good enough on its own, mods take it to another level. Custom classes, quality of life improvements, new locales, there's a ton of them out there to discover and not only enhance the experience, but they add an insane amount of replay value. Aside from gaming and TV shows, May was pretty eventful in other ways. I rarely talk about non-gaming related music here on the channel, but Kendrick Lamar's newest album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, came out. I'm a big fan of Kendrick as an artist, and this album is my personal favorite he's ever done. Music can resonate with us on a deep level, and this album in particular came out in the perfect time in my life when I needed it most. Kendrick's commentary on the world since the release of his last album 5 years ago, along with his introspection on bettering himself and confronting his weaknesses as an aging and maturing man in America, are things that have been on my mind lately as well. It just feels like every song was speaking to me, even if there was one I couldn't particularly relate to. It takes a real artist to be able to transport you to a place with their words and make you really feel something through their music. And for me, Kendrick is one of those real artists. So before I dive into the usual end segment where I talk about mental health, work life, and all that, last month I got a really special surprise from a friend and supporter of the channel, Dual Beard. He got me a mystery care package for my upcoming birthday that he wanted me to open on stream, and it was an experience, to put it lightly. Inside it were a box of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, a light-up Gundam figure, a joke gift of framed pictures of the cast of Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin, a gaming cast many of you will know I despise, and 2 complete physical editions of 2 very special PS1 games, The Legend of Dragoon and my favorite video game of all time, Xenogears. I don't know how I got lucky enough to discover people in life that are willing to go out of their way to do things for me simply out of the kindness of their own heart, but it's amazing. And just the thought of people wanting to do stuff like this, not even the act itself, but the fact someone would just want to, makes me feel like what I do here on YouTube and Twitch serves a purpose in the world. So, as you guys likely know by now, I work from home, and last month we had our first company retreat of sorts, where everyone, even those out of state, came into town to enjoy a cool weekend together. And honestly, I had a lot more fun than I thought I would. We did an escape room, a first for me, and we beat it with 15 minutes to spare. It was prison escape theme, and it was genuinely a group effort with everyone getting a moment to shine. We had to use personal knowledge, puzzle solving skills, and collaborative teamwork, and the sense of satisfaction solving it all was insane. Other than the escape room, we ate at some pretty cool places, including having a barbecue ourselves, played some board games, and I even got to try Jackbox games for the first time, which was a genuinely laugh-out-loud affair. It was all in all a great time and something I would like to hopefully experience again someday. Other than the company retreat, I was honestly kind of up and down mentally last month. I think the closer I get to the moving date, the more stressed and anxious I get on a subconscious level. I have so many videos planned, but it seems lately every time I sit down and try to write or edit, the willpower and inspiration just leaves me and I barely get any progress done. That and just being busy with other things is the primary reason this video is taking so long to get out. But I genuinely want to believe that when this move is done and I'm all settled in, my mental state and drive to make content will return. Until then, I appreciate all of you patiently waiting.